just like, oh my gosh, she's already a month.
Oh God, that is, I forgot just like what an all out assault that is. Those first couple months, like it's just pure friggin' survival mode. And now
then,
you got,
so Eddie, I think Eddie was 21 months old when Pearl was born. So it's like the biggest issue now is just like Eddie pissed off that she can't be attached to her mom all the time. So it's just like, but a lot more Eddie time for me.
That's cool. That's great.
Isn't it wild how much bigger the first one looks like when the second one comes along?
Dude, so somebody told us that, like, maybe a week before, they're like, enjoy how much of a baby your older one looks like right now, because as soon as that other baby shows up, you're gonna be like, dude, this kid's a teenager. And I mean, Eddie is a pipsqueak. She's so little. And then Pearl came out 9 pounds even. And so now it's like, I think Pearl's going to be the little big sister, but yeah, Eddie looks like a full on teenager now.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's like, I look at pictures of my son as a baby. I'm like, I don't remember this. Like, this seems like so far away, like a totally different era. And it was only 4 years.
It feels like a lifetime ago. And then other ways you're like, it feels like it just started,
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. I fucking love it.
It's the best. I tell people it is the most challenging, most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Yeah. It's awesome.
But it's the fucking best, because you get, Anyway, all right. What do you want to do, John? You want to like put Matt backstage and bring him on, or just start like this?
No, we've already started. I hit recording as soon as he came on.
Oh, you're not even doing it.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about the kid thing. My daughter's the same distance apart as yours, Matt, and so you're in for quite a journey.
How old are they now?
24 and 22, almost 25 and 23. So,
that's awesome. And like with that close age gap, were they friends?
Oh, they're still absolutely the best friends. It's crazy.
Yes, like that's my dream. Like Sam and I intentionally had kids. Like we're like, no, we want them close in age so that they can be friends and hang out. And we have a couple sets of friends that have 3 kids, and they're all the same age gaps. And it's like, you get to see the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old just like having a blast off on their own. The 2-year-olds with mom. I'm like, oh, that looks like so much fun.
Yeah,
dude. Well, see, we all feel that way. But the other day, my youngest, who's traveling for the summer, she's out in California. She calls because she wants to talk to her best friend, her sister, and to her cat. She doesn't want to talk to me. She doesn't want to talk to dad. It's like, let's FaceTime the cat. We'll worry about dad later.
Yeah, just put you in your place.
I read a quote from Maurice Jones-Drew, who's a former NFL football player, and he does stuff for NFL Network. And I thought it hit the nail on the head. And it was like, becoming a father healed things in me that I didn't know were broken. And what did it do for you? Because I think when I heard that, I went, absolutely. Like, it changed so much for me and put so many different things in perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I always feel silly, telling this first story, just because I know how it sounds. I'm aware of how it sounds, but if you've been through having your first kid, it's incredibly emotional. But I just remember when Eddie was born, they rushed her off to the NICU because like she failed some oxygen level test, and so like, hey, it shouldn't be anything. Ended up not being anything. But I just remember like she's in the little plastic bucket, and I'm like on the side staring at her, and it's chaos going around me, and it just like it all shut off for like 20 minutes, and like we just locked eyes, and I was like, there's something bigger than me, because this is so beautiful and perfect, and I did nothing to contribute to it. Like I did nothing to help construct this beautiful, perfect human life. And so I was just like, all right, there's something bigger. So that was like in the moment. And then since then, it's just always being aware of like what did I wish? How did I wish somebody had spoken to me?
Mm-hmm.
Like when they were correcting me or scolding me or having fun with me, how did I? And so it's stuff that you're not even aware of, that and like that guy said, you didn't even know. And then a situation pops up and it like hits you with a flashback, and you're like, okay, I've seen this situation play out one time. Like, how do I want to handle this correctly? But it's just a whole different shift in priorities, like, what you find fun, what your interests are. It's it's totally changed a lot of things.
Yeah, you were notorious in your competing years for sleep. Sleep being your unlock to everything else. How's your sleep now? I'm assuming it's pretty bad.
It's decent. Thankfully, so right now, Sammy got up with Eddie through the night. Sammy is getting up with Pearl through the night, just because she was like, I was getting up with Eddie, but then every time it was just I was bringing her in, waking Sammy up to feed, and then I was going back to bed. So finally, Sammy was like, "There's no point two of us being tired. Like both our kids sleep fantastically." So now Eddie sleeps through the night all the time. And so I'm on Eddie duty in the nights now. And knock on wood, like it's been a month now. She hasn't even woken up once in the night. So I'm putting that in the win column.
What kind of advice would you give to people who are getting ready to be a parent? Because people always came to me, and the thing I told them, and John asked me this too, when I first became a dad, and I just realized, just let them know that they're loved, because everyone's going to tell you, oh, you should do this, or make sure you do this, and it's like, don't pay attention to any of that. You're going to figure out what works best for you. But as long as
Yeah.
your kids know that they're loved, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there's a million things that like I kind of went into it knowing. But the typical, like you get asked that question, like how's sleep? And it's like, well, my sleep is fine. Like I'm not the one breastfeeding. So it's like I get to sleep through the night. I'm good. Um, and so that kind of brings me to the point of like with that, and I have a couple friends that are about to become fathers, and I've kind of given them my 2 cents. And the one, I don't think this is the best advice, but it's like the advice that I didn't see and I figured out later, was especially in the first like month or two. Uh, and please don't take this the wrong way. Like there's nothing I can do for the baby.
Yeah.
I can't feed it. It wants mom. It wants that comfort. It wants like, and then especially like when they're breastfeeding, it's every 2 hours. So it's like, yeah, I'll interact with my kid. But yeah, so I tell my friends, I'm like, the first couple months, there's not much you can do for the baby. Take care of mom. And it's just like, you know, I see what Sandy goes through, and it's draining, up. She's burning the candle at both ends and then burning how many calories a day on top of it. And then on top of that, it's like if she's in the room and Eddie wants to be on her lap, but she's feeding, and it's like it's chaos all the time. So it's just constant, like, how can I make Sammy's day easier? And so like Marston's about to become a father.
Mhm.
And I sent him a video with the kind of like couple of my tips, and it was just like, when you're bored, like when you're just sitting there and it's like watching paint dry and you're like, fuck. And
Mhm.
it's just reminding yourself, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is the priority right now. It's these little moments. And it's just like, make sure your kid sees that like it's those little moments. It's not these big grand gestures, vacations that show how good of a parent you are. It's like, no, what do you like in those little moments, that dull Tuesday? What can you turn that into?
Yeah.
So you're a couple of years into fatherhood. What kid shows have you learned the theme songs to yet?
Oh, my kid watches one movie and one movie only, Moana. And
Oh
it's like
God.
I mean, like, kind
That's
of lucky for us, the soundtrack is kind of a banger.
Yeah.
So like, as soon as we're in the car, she's in the back, Moana, Moana. And so yeah, I could probably sing most of the Moana songs, even the ones that aren't in English.
Yeah. I used to know the what is it? You're welcome. I used to know that top to bottom.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how can you not? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised, I think I showed her like Frozen. Like I just remember that like a couple years ago, it was like that was the movie that every kid was obsessed with. Showed that to her, and she didn't, gets up after 15 minutes and just like ready to go play with her blocks or something. I was like, oh, all right. But if Moana gets put on, dude, that girl is not moving.
All right.
well,
Yeah. Just wait.
you'll get a lot of range of shows between now and when they're teenagers. Trust me. So if you're lucky, they'll start skewing toward the music you like. Which I had that for a brief moment when they were both into grunge, and then they moved on to
Yeah.
pop and all the
Yeah.
other crap they listen to. But
Yeah.
Matt, I wanted to ask you about kind of going back to your competitive career, and the one thing that I've really admired about you is that you said I'm done, and you were done. There was no, and not that there's anything wrong with the approach of, yeah, I'm done, but I'm still going to kind of dabble in this and that. Like that's totally
Yeah.
fine. But because to me that says I did everything that I wanted to accomplish and I'm moving on. And not many people can say that, but what allowed you to not to walk away and stay away?
I'm sure there's not one particular reason. It's 5% of 20 different reasons. I would say the biggest one was family. The
Mhm.
biggest one was not what Continue CrossFit did for me, but it's what it interrupted, what it got in the way of. And I knew I didn't want to sacrifice anything. I knew if I wanted to compete, I wanted to be the best that I can be. And and I mean, thank God I did that before kids. Thank God I realized that, because it's just, it that wasn't a sacrifice that I would want to make, of like taking even 1% away from being a dad so I could be in the gym for 6, 8 hours a day. So that other projects, some of these little LLCs or real estate or HWPO, it's like I didn't want to do anything else while I was competing. Uh, and I think it worked out. But then, I think another part is just the example that I had set for me. I grew up with my parents and they were both Olympians.
Mhm.
And it's like I can count on one hand the amount of times I watched them lace up their skates. It's like it just wasn't a part of their life. It's what they did. It served its purpose. They have lifelong stories. Like that's half my childhood is listening to my dad tell those stories. But then, you catch them on a Tuesday when their kids are 20 and 25 years old. It's like, hey, what was the biggest thing in your life? They're not talking about their Olympic appearance or the world championships. The examples were always about the kids. And so that's just kind of what I wanted my priorities to be too. Of no, I did it. It doesn't, I love it. I appreciate it more the further away I get from it.
Yeah.
When I first retired, it was literally just a like, yeah, that was cool. I'm done, whatever. But it was just something I did. That was just a normal routine for me. And the further I get away from it, I realize kind of how special that time was, and how like I didn't realize how dedicated my life was to it. I was just normal, it's just how my day to day was set up. So it didn't seem weird. But now that I'm interacting a lot more with, you know, regular folks with 9 to 5s, and it's like, holy shit, my life was crazy for a little bit there.
Looking back on all that, Matt, what do you miss about it? The competition side.
um, I don't know. I don't know if I miss too much about the competing. Competing was kind of like a necessary thing. That's kind of the culmination of your training. That was the test at the end. But oh man, I hate it. Like I guess the nerves and anxiety were so big,
Mhm.
like just the pressure that I was putting on myself. And when I was at the games, it's like nothing else mattered. Nothing. It's like this is everything. If this doesn't work out, like my year is done. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity shot. So I was just like so concerned about hanging on so tight and like not letting it go. Um, yeah, so I think that I mean the really big thing that I miss is how simple it was. It like life was so fucking simple. It's just like eat, sleep, train, and train so fucking hard that it hurts. Train until you can't go harder, and then you did enough. Now it's like decisions aren't that simple. There's pros and cons. You can only fit so much in a day. There's way more responsibility. So it's just like life was really fucking hard back then, but it was simple. I knew what every day looked like. I could tell you what my Tuesday 16 weeks down the road was going to be.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, Tuesday, that's a squat day and a track session. Like it was that simple. And your years laid out for you. There's not many decisions to be made.
Yeah.
Now it's just the complexity, the juggling, now I don't run out of energy. Now I run out of time during the day. And that was never an issue before. Um, but yeah, like, and it's stuff too, like what do I miss, or what memories do I cherish? Like the traveling. Like who wouldn't love? I got to travel any corner of the world I ever wanted to. I could call up any gym anywhere and be like, hey, you pay for a trip, you give me a week vacation, I'll coach a seminar. It's a win-win for both sides. Um, and so I'm incredibly grateful and glad for those things and like people I met and all that stuff, but I don't miss it. I don't now I'm like, I'll go on a trip once in a blue moon, but like, I don't want to travel. I want to stay home with my family. I got this beautiful house that I love now, whereas before it was just my house was basically whatever was the closest vicinity to the gym. It was a house, not a home. Now it's I have a home, I have a family, like I have a routine. I'm like, nah, the desire to zip across the globe for a week. I'm like, I'm good.
You mentioned stories that your parents used to tell you. As your kids get older and have a better understanding and grasp on what you were able to accomplish in your career, what are the stories that you're looking forward to telling them?
Oh man. Um, I don't know off the top of my head. It's kind of tough to tell now because like we don't really know what the kids' interests are.
Mhm.
Um, so funny enough, Eddie saw a picture of me competing for the first time. Like she's never seen a video of it, she's never seen a picture of it, anything. And we were at O'Keefe's house a couple days ago, and down in his home office, it's like all these big metal prints that were gifts to him. And Eddie's kind of looking at it like kind of recognizes me, but a little bit bigger. I had a shaved head, and I was like, "Yeah, that's Daddy." And kind of a puzzled look. So yeah, I don't know when, like, if she'll ever see that stuff, or when we'll show her that, or what we'll show her. But um, I hope my kids grow up with a couple familiar faces. Like the Bellners, Bridges. It's like, we stay in touch a bunch, and it's like they're just good people. They got kids around the same age, and it's like all the wives get along, husbands get along. So it's just like, no, I hope those connections. And so maybe some stories will come up through there. But yeah, what I'm sure will happen is most of the stories will come from the training. Like not the actual competition itself, but like the day-to-day habits, that type of stuff. I'm willing to bet that'll be the stuff I talk about more.
Mhm.
I think at least once there'll be a story. It'll be like, honey, let me tell you about the time this asshole made me run a trail run back after I thought I was finished.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because there's stories like that where it's like, okay, how do I want to spin this? What perception do I want to put on it? And it's like, and there's another thing that like I I grew up hearing all these stories, and they're from the same person. My dad told me these stories, so they always got told with this one certain tone. And then I saw how I took the lessons I learned from his stories and I applied them later on in my life. So it's like, okay, like I just want to be aware of the tone, or like, what the whole story is of, was I doing it because I wanted to, or was I doing it to say fuck you to somebody? And it's like, let's tiptoe around this with the young kids.
uh, um, is there someone that you were so dominant when you competed, but was there someone who scared you where you're like, I got to know where this guy is all the time?
Several. I mean, the obvious one was Bellner.
Mhm.
Um, and he's so physically gifted. And just his body type, I was like, dude, that if I could have a body type to compete with, like gorilla arms, short torso, like, he's got a good build. So yeah, Pat was always on my mind. But then early on, there was a couple guys I had trained with, like Alex Anderson. He was one. I think he retired in 16, maybe after this. No, maybe after the 17 games, but he was one, and Adrian Moonweiler. Both those guys, if you just took their one-off stats of like max unbroken ring muscle ups, max one rep snatch, one rep, all of their stats were so fucking crazy. Like Adrian Moonweiler, he was one guy that I always thought, like, if he just pieces it together, he would be a big threat. Because he snatched 315, he's cleaned well over like in the 375, 385 numbers. Like he's good at gymnastics. It's but yeah, then but it doesn't matter how good those things are, you need the whole package. It's and I don't know what it was. I didn't really train. I trained with Alex a little bit, but the other two, very, very little. The only time I ever trained with Pat, I was so out of shape. He just kicked my ass all over the place. Um, it was kind of funny too. It was an open workout. I remember this one. I think it was the first open workout back, and I got pummeled. Like it's like, dude, the thing that's the worst for me right now is conditioning. And then it was like one of those 20-minute AMRAPs where it's like the games athletes are finishing a round in like 40 seconds. So you're just dizzy. And I remember Pat fucking mopped the floor with me. And like we were doing it face to face. And like I literally just watched him pull away from me and gone. And 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 then after, we're kind of giving each other a little bit of shit. And he was kind of upset and he was just like, I was like, what are you upset about? Like you kicked my ass. And he was like, because I know in 2 weeks you're gonna kick my ass. He was like, I know you're just so out of shape. I'm like, oh, like Pat and I used to send each other like belly pictures to see who could get fatter in the off season. And I typically won. And so he would just like see me like there's not an ab in sight, and he's like, "What the fuck? I know you're going to be back in like 2 weeks." I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be a painful 2 weeks, but yeah." Trying to think of like any other, there's the obvious answer of like all the guys that hit the podium and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think probably like in terms of ranking and like how much I fear them, Adrian Moonweiler was probably
That's crazy.
right up there, just because all his stats were sick.
Mhm.
And then like he's built like a fucking brick shit house. Like you see me, like, how are you real,
Yeah.
dude? Like look at you. I'm sure there's a dozen other names that I'm forgetting, but yeah.
Was there anybody or is there anyone now that you look at and you say, that kind of reminds me of me?
Um, there's been a couple. I'm kind of hesitant to say that stuff now. It kind of backfired a little bit.
Yeah.
But I it's so straight. Like, when the fuck did it become a tall guy sport? Like that's the biggest thing. Like,
Yeah.
it was a year or two at it must have been a semifinal or regional, whatever they were calling it at the time. And I was with Hopper, and then yeah, it was Dallin Pepper and James Sprague. Like it was the four of us kind of standing in a circle talking. And I felt like a fucking kindergartner because I'm sitting there talking to all like the shortest one is like 6'2", and I'm like, what? Like, when did this become a thing? I remember like what was his name? Like Chad McKay,
Yeah, Chad
like
McKay.
the Australian.
And that
Like
guy
what it
moved incredibly well. It was
Yeah, he moved incredibly well, but it was like it was known that like, hey, if a conditioning or a body weight workout, whatever, it was just like this accepted thing that the big guy's going to be last and the big guy's going to be slow. And now you're looking at these dudes like, holy fuck, you're huge and you move like that. You know, yeah, it's just I just remember like the like public opinion of like what the ideal body type was. And I think it was always, between like 5'7", 5'8", and between 190 and 200 pounds. And
yeah.
I'm sure that's just like kind of like the shell that Rich and I fell into. But now it's like, no, I don't. You see some guy, you see someone like Colton Merton, like he's knocking them out of the park sometimes. Then you see someone like James Sprague, who is like, dude, this guy is so long, but he moves. He fucking does it. Yeah, like we were at Rogue, and I think yeah, it was an open workout. Whatever one had the 15 feet of lunges. Um, and I did the workout earlier. Then Ariel Owens was about to do it. And, so we're just kind of giving her tips, and I was like, I think I was getting each lunge and whatever it was, like 5 steps. And James kind of laughed, and I was like, what? And I was like, hey, I'm sure you do it in 4, and you have some space to spare. And then he did the lunge in 3, and I was like, I can't even dream of doing that.
Mm.
And it looked half normal. Like he was obviously stretching, but I'm like, damn, 15-foot lunge in 3 steps. That's fucking crazy. So
Matt, when you started to give us that answer, you were obviously carefully choosing your words. And I think one thing that I appreciate about you is you've stayed by and large completely out of the CrossFit drama for some time now.
yeah, I try to.
How have you been able to maintain that? I mean, particularly as someone who gets quite a few shots taken at him from time to time.
I mean, I don't see people taking shots at me. Like if you don't have my phone number or live on my road, I'm not hearing what you're saying. Like it's kind of one of those things like, occasionally people will tell like, so and so said this, and I'm just like, hey, like I don't really care anymore. Like please don't send me that. It's like, you know, um once you realize it's like it's a losing battle ever trying to win an argument on the internet, and it's like, why am I doing
Right.
this? Like, I did, yeah, I just saw, and it's like when I was competing, I was very in tune with that stuff. I mean, towards the end of my career, I would kind of delete Instagram like a month before the game, stuff like that. But no, like we're just focused. I'm just focused on different things. What, like, am I going to change somebody's opinion that's like trenched in and like arguing it to the death? And it's like, what you're mad at me for is a lie anyway. So it's like you don't have my phone number. Like if you're pissed at me, call me. If you don't have my phone number, you don't know me well enough. Um, so no, it's just I'm just focusing on different things, just working on a business, working on raising a family, having fun. And it's like it's outside of those things. It's like, yeah, I'm not against it, but I'm not gonna waste my time getting in a keyboard argument. That's kind of silly.
How are you balancing all? You have an amazing business. I mean, hard work pays off. It's obviously taken off and become one of the, premier programs in the sport of fitness. Like, how are you balancing young family, very complex job?
I have very, very good partners. um, no, like I told O'Keefe, years ago, like when we started this, I was like, hey, like here's my time window where let's burn it down. Just like we were competing, the days revolve around this, the travel, everything. We're putting all of our eggs in this basket. That's how we perform well. But I told him I was like, as soon as I have a family, I'm not I'm not being on the road 200 days a year. Like I'll do the trips, but now it's a little bit different. Like I'm going to Miami on Saturday, but I'm there less than 24 hours. So it's just like down, back, quick, get the business done, get home. So yeah, especially with in the first couple months after having the kids, especially this month, like Pearl's 1 month old today. And it's just he's like, nope, go do your thing, go be with your family. I'll call you. Like when I need you, I'll call you. So even when the phone rings, I know it's like, okay, this isn't like you're gonna waste a couple days of my time. It's a need to basis. But no, I mean it's a constant struggle. Like the things you want to do and things you have to do rarely ever line up.
Right.
But I'm just putting a lot more effort into like the home life of I'm here 7 days a week. Might as well make it fun. So just making sure that, like we have a good environment so the kids and I can have fun every day.
You mentioned hiring good, having good partners. And I think one general thing that a lot of successful people have in common is that they understand, like, I got to hire good people. I got to hire people who are probably smarter than me and let them do their jobs. Other than that, what are some of the other sort of like core business tenets that are non-negotiable for you as run your you run your company?
I mean, I remember one job I got, and it was this is like for that aerospace company, and it was probably the most sought after internship in Vermont. It was one of the few that paid. It paid well, and then you're an aerospace engineer. It's pretty fucking sick. Um, and and so it was a guy from the gym that offered me the internship, and he was like, just give your application to me. I want to hire you. And I was like, all right. I kind of got nervous. I was like, hey, like, I don't have a 4.0 GPA. Like, I have good grades, but like, it's not a 4.0. Like, and I kind of assumed to get this internship, you needed a perfect grade. And he was like, do you know the person in your class that has the 4.0? And I was like, yeah. He was like, do you want to spend 9 hours with them? I was like, no fucking way. Like, not a chance. And he was like, exactly. He was like, I'll take the 3.7, but you have hobbies, you have a personality, you have other interests. Like, he's like, I'll take that all day long. And so, that was one thing I kind of, it just hit me. I was like, oh shit, yeah, you can teach anyone how to do like the task of a job, but you can't teach somebody how to be a people person or be nice or whatever it is. Um, so yeah, that one kind of hit home. Um, Yeah. I don't know. I just want to spend time around people I like. I mean that's it at the end of the day. And the other thing too, like hiring people that are better than you. It's like I know what I was the best at and it was working out. So it's like I know I come into it with a different perspective and like a lot of insight, but there's other people that are really fucking good at that stuff. And so I just try to get them on my team. It's like, all right, if you're gonna do this anyways, like I want you to do it for me. And then hopefully the blend between two of us is even better than a single product either one of us could have made on our own.
Is this dedicated business focus you have? I'm sure it keeps you crazy busy, and I know Keith's a big part of it. I was curious if you're giving him some sort of payback by making him run high rocks with you a couple of times.
No, he owes me payback, dude. That dude runs like a fucking gazelle right now.
Does he?
Dude, last time when we were training for the last high rocks, we linked up. I forget where we were, but anyways, we did like a high rock style workout together, and it was like he was still in marathon shape. So like the whole time I've known him, he's like between 205 and 220, and then now he's down at 185. The dude has abs. He's never been leaner in his life, and I'm pacing behind him, and it's finally like, all right, you go, dude. Like this is all you've been training for months now. So no, and none of the stations in high rocks are enough to stop O'Keefe in his tracks. Like there's things that I'm obviously better at him than, but it's like if it were a heavier weight or a longer section, I'm sure I would start to pull away. But no, like doing the high rocks, it's just fun. Like even this morning, I have to remind myself all the time, like, no, I don't have to feel like I'm dying. I don't have to push it to that limit. Like this morning, I did a workout and it probably had 4 or 5 miles worth of running in it. And like it ended with a trail run. It's like a 2 mile loop by my house. And it's an incline the entire way. And it's like at a certain point, you're like kind of getting a little bit dizzy or chest. And I was like, I'm not competing. What the fuck am I doing? Just slow down a little bit. So it's like that's probably like the biggest adjustment I'm going through now of like making working out a regular routine thing again, but then also killing that association that I have with working out, that it's like it's exclusively painful. It's exclusively shit I don't like doing. It's exclusively shit I'm bad at. And I was like, no, I can back squat and do a rowing intervals and be done for the day. It's like, no, I don't have to do the shit I don't like.
Why, when you started HWPO, it seemed to be more or less CrossFit focused, and now you've branched out into other areas, one of which is high rocks. Why was that important for the continued sustainability and success of your business?
It's not even so much that like O'Keefe and I could run HWPO with the couple CrossFit programs we have, and we could sail off in the sunset perfectly happy. Like business is great. But like our mission is trying to get fitness to everybody. And that includes people working out outside of CrossFit gyms. Some people don't have a gym. Some people can't afford a membership. Some people are too intimidated, whatever it is. Some people have no interest in doing a squat snatch or a bar muscle up. And it's like, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It's just, that's your preference. And so we just want to help anyone. That's our end goal. And so, obviously it started out in the CrossFit space because that's where I was, but it has nothing to do against, like, would it be amazing if every person found CrossFit and did it and loved it? Yeah, of course. It'd make life really, really easy. But no, we just want to help people. And some people just want to run. Some people just want to do body weight workouts. And it's like, okay, if that's what you want, that's where you're at. We want to meet you there.
Dude, I am 3 weeks into your program.
Which one?
The High Rocks program. O'Keefe sent it to me. As soon as you launched it, he sent it to me. I think he wants me to feel better about my time because he's kicked my ass twice now. And I mean, no. First of all, you have an ungodly commitment to 40-minute AMRAPs. We'll just start there. They're really painful. I had a really terrible one down here in the basement this morning. That was two 20-minute AMRAPs with half-mile sprints in between.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Yeah, it was tough at 8 a.m.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm about to jump on the high rocks. The last month has just been like, I'm like, hey, if I can get in the gym at whenever, great. But essentially for the last like month, I haven't done much of anything. And so today was the first day where it's like, we got some grandparents in town, some extra hands, and I was like, I got a couple hours free. Like, I'm gonna go for a run. Like, And uh, but yeah, I'll be starting the High Rocks program tomorrow.
It's been an interesting journey for me so far because there have been several strength movements I've never trained. So because, right out of the gate, you're teaching me things that, I've been in fitness now for 14 years. I thought I'd seen it all.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest takeaway 3 weeks in is the mental toughness it takes. Like
Yeah.
these, a 40-minute, I did one, I was visiting a friend down in Charlotte, and it was like 90 degrees.
Mhm.
And so I'm in the gym, no air conditioning. It was 4 sets of 500-meter run, 500-meter ski, 500-meter run, 500-meter row, 500-meter run, with a very gracious 2 minutes rest in between each set.
Fully
Very gracious.
recovered.
Yeah. And it took about 55 minutes when it was all said and done. And that's third and fourth round took probably the most mental toughness I've had to deal with in 14
Mhm.
years. And I took your name in vain a couple of times.
I mean, like those 40-minute EMOMs, that was a big thing I loved about them, was how versatile they were. You could make it just an easy kind of continuous conditioning and run every minute up to the 55-second mark, or it's like, or you can cut the work in half. Like, all right, I'm doing 12 calories on the minute between all the machines, but the work has to be done in like 25 seconds. And it's like, those are fucking brutal. But yeah, especially when you throw in some heat, or like, when I was doing them in my basement, my room didn't have any windows, low ceilings, like it was shit. And it was the mental side of the big one for me. And I kind of did this to fuck with people too when they would jump in with me. When we hit the 10-minute mark, I would kind of announce like, all right, guys, halfway to halfway. And like for me, it's like I broke shit up like that in my head because it made it easier. I'm like, I'm already halfway to halfway. So I'm basically already done the first half, and the second half is all downhill. Easy. And like people would kind of hear that and be like, oh fuck. And then for me, the big speed bump was typically, and this is how I knew if I programmed them correctly, was if I was questioning if I could finish when I was at the 16-minute mark, because I knew I was like, I'm a full round away from being halfway, but I'm in full pain mode. And so it was like in that moment, it was like, okay, like I think I fucked up. I think I programmed this too much, but like, all right, here's like, I'm not even halfway and I feel like this. So that's where like the mental test for me would come in and just be like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Well, I'm slowly starting to learn some of those through your programming, but I'm not there yet. I'm not doing that kind of math. I'm doing the kind of math of how close am I to the bucket so I can go puke at some point in this workout. Yeah.
I mean, like I always did like, a 5-round workout. It's like, all right, the first round doesn't count. You're fresh. The second, like, and then the second round, it's like, well, after the second round, I'm on the home stretch. There's only 3 rounds left. So it's really only the second round that's hard. And then I can put the throttle down through 3 rounds of anything. So it was always kind of breaking stuff up like that in my head. And it's like, yeah, it was total bullshit. I'm sure it didn't apply at all, but if I believed it, I would hit it hard.
One thing that I've been really impressed with Hard Work Pays Off is you guys have a really deep community. My baby sister was part of the sweat group for a while, and that's what she kept saying to me, all the messages she would get online and people going back and forth. Has that been a surprise to you at all, like how big this community has built?
Unbelievable. And I know the specific moment when it was like, holy shit, like this isn't just a huge group chat and people are, just a name on a screen. It was when Sammy was pregnant with Eddie. She was getting so many messages of just like, hey, how are you adapting? Like, hey, I'm on sweat and I'm pregnant. How are you adapting this movement, this one? And so Sammy, just for fun, was like, she just had this like little community inside of a community of just all the pregnant sweat girls that, they were all chit chatting. And so Sammy was like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we all got together? And so she just put it up like, hey guys, like this Saturday, like I'm doing a potluck and whatever. If you're local and want to drive up, she had 44 women, 44 pregnant
Wow.
women that were sweat members show up. And like, so you're kind of there like, oh, like you're not all from my hometown. And it's like, no, like, but this was just like a little throwaway, like Sammy was just like, oh, this would be a fun thing. And it's like, yeah, some of the moms, like Sammy stays in touch with a lot of them. Like a couple of them are local, so she'll link up with them. And it was seeing that I was like, holy shit. Like this community is big.
I had a little moment. I was going to message O'Keefe and tell him, but I'll just tell you. I was at my affiliates the other day working out by myself, doing your programming, I might add. And another woman dropped in wearing a HWPO shirt, doing your programming, like right next to me. So halfway through, I shot to her. I'm like, "You doing hard work pays off?" She's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Me too." It was kind of a
Oh, that's
wild
awesome.
moment.
I love hearing shit like that.
Every business to be successful has to evolve. Things need to change. As you sort of look at the next, immediate, mid, and then long-term future of HWPO, what are some of the things that you would like to see happen?
I mean, you're catching us. Like we're in that moment of like going big or going home. So I actually shot O'Keefe a note of like, hey man, how much of the stuff we have going on can I talk about? And I haven't heard back from him yet. So I'll
Fair.
keep it a little bit vague, but we're looking at opening up a new headquarters down in Boston. And it is fucking crazy. I'm seeing the mock-ups, and like O'Keefe and I went and walked the building, and it's like, oh shit, like this is all in. So that I'm super excited for that, just because I'm excited for what it's going to provide, because it's right next to Fenway, like right
Nice.
next to Fenway. So I'm just picturing like the summer nights, working out with the boys, going over to Fenway, catch a game. Like I'm like, dude, this is gonna be sick. And then just being in a more central location, that was a big thing I learned after I retired and moved back to Vermont. This is where I grew up. This is home for me. This is normal. I didn't realize how remote I was. Like there are no direct flights here. Like flights get canceled. I swear Burlington has to be the most canceled airport in the country. Um, I didn't realize how difficult it was to get here, or just how easy it was to get other places. Um, so that was a big push for, all right, we got to move to Boston if we want to be kind of a hub. Um, so yeah, doing that, and then just tech upgrades. I mean, that's the part that I'm gonna stay vague on, but we're pushing the chips in the biggest we ever have, and on the tech side, and kind of just making everything brand new and just beautiful. So
Mm.
that's kind of what we see in the short term. But then it's the same goal, just on a different scale always, of just like, we're just trying to get fitness to whoever wants it. We want to create something where there's virtually zero barrier to entry to anyone. Like no matter what your interest is, how you want to train, anything, like we want to be the one-stop shop. So that might include even expanding outside of training, just offering even more services. But yeah, we're kind of in that mix of like, all right, like let's fucking go big or go home. And so yeah, I mean, it's just so cool, like O'Keefe and I are walking through this building, and I'm like, yo, like, can we pull this off? And O'Keefe's just, oh fuck yeah, dude. Like we're in. I'm like, all right, full steam ahead. You never led me wrong yet. So let's do this.
Yeah, that guy's not one to. Anytime you talk to him, you're always going to leave feeling good about whatever choice you've made, because he's always like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you got it. Let's do it."
Yeah.
He's
Yeah. And that's one of those things too, like surrounding yourself with good people, and it was like, the few people I like, Sammy and O'Keefe, they are attached to the hip to me. And it was like they both at one point did something, like just a gesture that like they were like putting me in front of them. And it was just like, with O'Keefe, he had Redline gear, and it was when Nike and Reebok made me offers, and O'Keefe was like, hey, like, so O'Keefe owned me, apparel, footwear, everything, head to toe, like, for 4 years. And then Nike and Reebok came in and offered contracts, and O'Keefe literally would just like voided out our contract and was like, you're going with them. Like, I can't stand in the way of you. This is life changing. Like, I can't be the reason you didn't do it. And it was literally like after that phone call, I was like, I'll follow him off the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
Like he's putting me first. He has my best interests at heart. And, everyone who's met him is just like fucking loves him. He's nice to fucking almost everyone. He's nice to anyone that even deserves it 1%. But yeah, it's just keeping the good people around you. And it's like with O'Keefe, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no road trip too long with the right co-pilot. So it's like, even if O'Keefe and I are in the shit and just having a miserable fucking time, like we just kind of look at each other, have a chuckle. I'm like, all right, let's keep fucking going. We've been here before. Let's do it again.
We should have invited him on this show so we could have one more white bald guy.
Great.
You've talked about your sobriety journey before. And if it's not something to bring up, or, that's totally fair, we can edit it out. But, I've had people in my life, in my direct family, who have struggled with substance abuse, alcoholism, extended family as well. And I always think about, like, what was the moment where it could have gone either way? What was the moment where it went, it could have been, okay, this turns out okay, or now we're in full on addiction and this is a serious problem. And have you thought about it all with you, like what that moment was?
So the question of like, where was that fork in the road? I ask this question constantly because, and the most common one is when you see a homeless guy on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And you see him and you're like, what was the last decision? Like, don't get me wrong, that last decision wasn't like you're a millionaire or you're living homeless. It's a culmination of a million little decisions. But yeah, it's always like, what was the last one? What was the last thing you did that like you could have brought it back? And what was the cause of the first night sleeping outside? Like the first night, like you get kicked out. So yeah, I always think of that stuff. For me, it wasn't really trying to think of how to say this. It was the disappointment from everyone around me.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I had a great time. Like people are like, oh, you had a problem drinking. It's like, no, I was fucking awesome at drinking.
Yeah,
Like
that was great.
I never had a problem. I never had a bad time. Like
right.
It was, but it was, the effect of it, the repercussions, but for me, the real thing was just the disappointment from my parents. Though they saw me, there's probably a couple. I remember once, nothing bad happened, but my mother saw me and she just started crying, like just bawling. And I was like, the fuck's the problem? And I mean, this sounds kind of funny. I came home, I was like 3 sheets to the wind. And, I went into her room and I just like swan dived on the bed, just like, poof, and just like, hey mom, I'm home. And that like got her. And I was like, what happened? And she was like, that's what your father used to do. Like the same thing when he would come home. Like, and I was like, ooh, fuck. Cause my dad's been sober my whole life. Like so, there's that, and then the really disappointing one, that kind of like irked me for a long time was, I got her, no, I didn't get arrested, but I got in trouble with the cops. I got sent home with some paperwork or something. And I came in, my dad was on the phone with like his brother or something. And, I gave him the paperwork and he just like couldn't be bothered. He was just like, well, yep. And I was just like, oh fuck, he doesn't care. Like before it would be like this big, it was a big thing. Like your kid comes home with the police and like you're in all kinds of trouble. Like, you expect your parents to be up in arms. And my dad was just so calm, kind of, it seemed like he didn't care. And I was like, oof, I need to make a change. So, that's how it started. The big thing too was like a huge network of my friends were sober just by coincidence. Like I didn't seek them out. It was just like, that's who I was around. And so, those were the guys I would go dirt biking with or four-wheeling with. And I was super young. Like I started hanging out with this one group. I was 12 and they were like in their 20s. And my dad would always, why'd you go hang out with Nate? Go hang out with Nate, go riding, all this stuff. To me, I was like, this is weird. My dad wants me hanging out with a like 20-year-old. Like, and Nate would come by, he had a pickup truck. My dad and I would load my dirt bike in the back and I'd go off with Nate. And years later, I'm like, oh, duh. Like Nate was sober. So my dad knew if I was with Nate, I was going to be sober. So the day I made that change, it was a very easy switch. Like I already had a network. I already had people to talk to, all that type of stuff. Yeah. Glad I made it. I mean, without a doubt, you know, if not saved my life, but definitely upgraded it.
Yeah. And something that my brother said to me, because he's dealt with a lot of addicts in his life. And he said that, addicts don't get cured. They just find another addiction.
So,
And whether that's working out or whether it's something, but if they channel that energy into something positive that helps them out. Was that kind
so
of the case?
this is this, I kind of had this epiphany, years ago. Because, it's like I joke, I'm like, no, like if you're not doing it to excess, what's the point?
Right.
Like if one's good, two is better.
Mhm.
And, I've seen it with my dad. Like I've never seen my dad take a drink. He's been sober my entire life. But it's like, no, he's not just an alcoholic, he's a holic. If he's doing something, he's
Yeah.
doing it to the extreme. He becomes obsessed with it and he masters it and just he wants to do it. That's it. Um, and so I realized that. And so, when I first realized it was when I moved back to Vermont and was going to UVM. I had nothing. I was the big I or at least I felt like the biggest fucking loser that existed. You know, I'm I left the Olympic Training Center. Like I was the Olympic hopeful in my hometown of like my group of friends. Like that was my identity. Never so my weightlifting career in my eyes at the time never came to fruition. Never did what I wanted to do. Now I'm 6 years older than anyone in my class, and I'm basically starting college at 24 years old. Like, so that's not a good thing. All your friends are graduating, getting jobs, getting married, and I had to move back home into my childhood bedroom, and it was just like, fucking A, what did I do with my life? Like, what decisions did I make? And and I just broken up with a long-term girlfriend, just moved home. Like nothing felt great. Nothing was good in my life. But I was in school, and because I had nothing else, I was like, I'm just going to fill my day with school. I'm just going to become obsessed with it. Like if I have nothing else, I'm going to be the best student I can be. And so that's what I did. And then I kind of realized I was like, man, like nobody has an issue with the fact that I'm clearly have this unhealthy relationship with how much I'm studying. Of like I'm in the library for a day, start to finish. I'm, going in on Saturdays at first thing in the morning. I'm not leaving till it's nighttime. And like nobody has complained. Like if I were doing this with, another addiction, and so that's kind of when I had the epiphany of like, oh, I just need to be addicted to something that has a positive outcome. And so, for a little while that was school. That's where I got my self-confidence from or whatever, my fulfillment. And then when CrossFit started, I was like, yeah, there's no way. Like you're training 2, 3 times a day, 6 days a week. Like if it were anything else that had a negative side effect, people would have an intervention for you. But I was like, nobody's complaining that I'm making a good living and I'm traveling the world. So it's just kind of like, all right, I'll just make sure that like whatever I, take an interest in, I know what I'm going to do with this interest. I know how obsessed I'm going to become with it if it sticks. So just make sure that it's something with a good end result. Something that is actually usable and not a hindrance to everyone around you.
Yeah.
Well, and now those things for you are fatherhood and learning the soundtrack to Moana, apparently. So it's easy to get addicted to fatherhood, by the way. You will, I think you'll find if you're not already there, because I'm still there 24 years later, that all this ridiculous stuff I do in the gym that is very clearly an addiction for me carries over into that realm. And anything the girls do, I'm there for. And I get that impression of you every time I see photos you carting your kid around by the back of her overalls, which I absolutely love. So I'm excited for what you have coming up for the
Yeah.
next
I mean, it's just
20,
like,
30 years.
I had a friend. This is another thing I tell some dads coming up. And I had a friend tell it to me, and thank God he did, because, you know, when the kids are super young and attached to mom, it's like they don't have an interest in dad. Like mom provides all the comfort, nutrients, everything. And so it's not like my kid disliked me, but it's like mom got the snuggles. I never got like a snuggle or anything. And then it's like once they become a little bit more physically capable and you start kind of running around and playing, and it's like a light goes off in their head of like, oh shit, dad is fun. And
Yeah.
now it's like now I'm getting all that time. Now I'm getting the snuggles, like especially when it's like, Sammy's feeding. And so it's like I'm getting the like her laying on my chest, and it's like, oh God, this is the greatest. But yeah, I'm just hoping like the older they get, the more and more I can do with them. And it's just like, yeah, I get to show these people the world and like, I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Show them the world, introduce them to them. And yeah, I'm having a fucking blast.
I got one last question for you. And this is something I heard the other day and I've been thinking a lot about too. Is that when you're young, you think that your success is more or less due to your grit, your hard work and everything. But as you get older and you start having more life experiences, you realize that your success really isn't your fault, that there were a lot of people along the way that either gave you an opportunity or
Oh,
provided you with something or the tools that allowed you to be successful later on in life. I know you've mentioned some of them like with O'Keefe, things like that, but who are those people in your life that you look back and you say, without them, I'm not
yeah.
right now.
Sorry, I'm looking for the book on my bookshelf. I think it's The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I know the name.
so yeah, so he goes through this exact thing of like, all right, what made Bill Gates Bill Gates? Like, why was he different? What was it? And it's like, not taking anything away. Like he learned how to code. He became better than everyone else. All these things, but it was like he lived next to the first computer in the United States. Like he lived like a block away from it. And so it was like all the college students would book it out during the day, and then he would book it out from like 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. And everyone else had to get 1 hour blocks, but he was getting 4 hour and 6 hour blocks. And because he had that opportunity, he got good. So then he changed the code so he wouldn't get billed. And now we could do it even more often. So things like that, like what was that thing, however long ago it was that provided this. And for me, you know, it's not just one person. There are people like O'Keefe, but I had already started CrossFit by the time I met O'Keefe. Like O'Keefe changed my life. He made CrossFit 1,000 times better for me. O'Keefe changed the fucking sport forever. Um, but I look back and it's like my original weightlifting coach, somebody like that, where, I met him when I was 12 years old. He was the middle school PE teacher at the next town over, and he had probably a 12 platform weightlifting room. The school kind of like gave it to him at the end, but he bought all his own equipment. There's probably 20 men's bars, 20 women's bars. And this is before Rogue was a thing. Like a men's weightlifting bar was like $600-700. And this is like, 20 years ago. So full competition bumper sets for like this gym was outfitted just by dumb luck. This guy he's the best technician in the country, especially at the time. He was the weightlifter, the weightlifting coach, and he coached 6 days a week for free. He refused to ever take a dime. He flew himself to the competitions. Like it was bananas, and like you don't see this type of generosity today. And it was the type of guy, like, if you bought him like a Starbucks drink on your way into the gym, it's like you heard about it for 3 days. That's how grateful he was. Um, but the fact that that dude just happened to live 10 minutes down the road from me, just happened to have a gym that was free, and he just happened to be one of the best in the country. Dude, my first day in a CrossFit gym, I was snatching 300, clean and jerking 365. Like, and it's like, it didn't matter how tired I got, like, because of him, muscle memory was so ingrained to me that it's like like no matter how tired I was, no matter how sore, I snatched the same way. And it's like there's no denying that like my success, especially early on in the sport, was because of my weightlifting background. I just knew how to use my hips to move something in my hands from day one. Um, so I had to figure a lot of shit out, but it's like at the time I viewed my sports career as a failure because I never went to the Olympics. And then it's like, fast forward 10 years, it's like, all right, well, that sports career ended up serving its purpose, but in a totally different realm, a totally different venue. Um, so, I look at that as like, yeah, if Chris Polakowski didn't happen to live a town over and happen to coach for free and like all that, it's like, no, I would have played football through high school. That's probably where it would have ended, kept skiing in the winters, but yeah, because of him and because of what he had set up, and it wasn't like a profit thing for him. He was a full-time fucking teacher. And then from like 2 to 5 p.m. every day after school, he would be in the weight room. And the only form of pay, the only thing he asked from his athletes was I ask you to compete once per year. And that he would make he would host a competition in the gym, so like they wouldn't have to travel. But he was like, my form of payment is you seeing how much you've progressed. So I ask, if I train you, you have to compete once per year for yourself. And it was just like, at the time, it was just like, yeah, that's just what Chris does. He's just at the gym. That it's what he likes doing. Dude, he had 2 kids. Like, he didn't have to be there. He just worked a full day. Like, he's there for free every year for 10 years. Like, so looking back now as an adult and like seeing that, you're like, holy fuck, that guy gave a huge chunk of his life for next to nothing in return. He's super proud of what I ended up doing in CrossFit. His first weightlifting, the first like big weightlifting athlete, he took her from 6th grade, and she went to the Olympics in 2008. So, he's a very, very accomplished. He has a ton of world team members, but just doing it for the love of the game. Oh, here's a perfect fucking story about this guy. The gym that I used to train at a bunch and like do open workouts at, 802. They're in the same town that Polakowski's from. And so Chris asked me, he was like, I'm thinking 802 reached out to me and they want me to coach a seminar. But that's great. He was like, do you mind looking over this material? I made a pamphlet. And like, you're just trying to make it look professional. And his pricing is on there. And it was opened up for 20 spots like every Friday night or something like that at the CrossFit gym. And he was charging $10 a head. And I was like, Chris, like, no, like you have to charge, like, this is $100 minimum. Like, if not, I'm like, your resume as a weightlifting coach is one of the best in the country. And like, you're coaching people that like, they know me, like they know you're my weightlifter, like you're going to sell tickets. And he was like, I can't charge more than $10. He was like, every Friday night, I coach from 4 to 6. I leave there with $200 cash in my pocket. My wife picks me up and I take her out for the nicest dinner. And he's like, what? And it just so genuine. He was like, I can't ask for more than that. Like, I used to do this for free for 10, 20 years. And now I just got paid $200 to do it for 2 hours. He's like, I can't ask for more than that. I can't feel good about that. I was just like, holy shit. Like, you're such a nice guy. But yeah. Yes, so someone like him, and then even, I mean, this is where like the whole like bull tattoo, like thanks to all the bulls that bucked me off, I would have never started CrossFit if I didn't break my back. I would have stayed in love with the sport likely. I would have done good enough. I probably would have made another world team or two. If Chicago had gotten the Olympics, and I think it was 2016, I truly believe I could have had a shot of being on that team. Because if you're home country host, you get to send a full team. So I was 8 men at the time. I wasn't good enough to get first or second, but I was a top 8. That's realistic for me, I think. So if I hadn't broken my back, got that surgery, kind of fell out of love with CrossFit, like no, I would have never done, or it fell out of love with weightlifting. I would have never done CrossFit. So with enough time, even something that terrible, like that put me into a depression. Like that made me question life. And then fast forward 5 years and I'm like, holy shit, thank God I broke my back. Like I see what it did for me for the rest of my life. So that's where it's like this bull. It's like every time I see it, no matter what I'm going through, it's like, no, like, a silver lining will reveal itself. Something good will come from this. And if it doesn't, like, fuck it, you'll learn something, like you got through another thing. You proved to yourself that you're tough enough to survive. So, yeah, that's another one that in the moment, like, oh, I would have traded anything to be out of that moment. But now it's like, thank God it happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, Matt, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And
yeah. Thank you guys.
It's just speaking from a selfish perspective, like it was a blast watching you compete. I miss seeing you out there, but, provided me with
I mean, it was so much fun. It was a good time. It provided the best fucking memories. It provided so many relationships. At the end of the day, even if I come out of it with just O'Keefe and Sammy, it's like, dude, that's a win right there. But I ended my career with so much more than that. And it's like, now, it's keep trying to give back. And it's like, no, it's still a great place. Still love it. Just looks a little bit different.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, man.
All the best to the family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was fun.
What a great dude. Love talking to Matt.
I have so many impressions after listening to him. He is quick. Like his mind is like this. I was sitting there thinking about how humble he sounded at the end around all these people that have helped him. And what kept going through my brain was not only is he incredibly fast on like the questions you would ask, and not, he would have an answer, but they were detailed answers, which is a sign of, real intellect. But he's got that crazy drive of his, like nothing's going to stop him. Nothing's going to break him. You put those two things together for a business. It's no wonder hard work pays off is spectacular,
And I think, that's the thing too, that I've always seen in great athletes. Michael Jordan had it. Jerry Rice had it. Kobe Bryant had it. All these guys who had God-given talent, but just this maniacal drive to win. And I think that they hated losing more than they liked winning. And I think Matt falls in that category. And like I said, I do admire the fact that he said, I'm done. And he stayed away, because it's not easy when you're that good at something like that. It's provided that much for your family to just say, yep, no, I'm good. I've done everything I need to do. I'm on to the next thing. Like, that's hard to do.
Yeah. And he's got his mindset, like he just thinks different. I almost started laughing at myself. You always hear them say, oh, I'm built different. That dude is built different.
Yeah.
When I asked him about the haters, like, how do you handle it? And he was just, matter of fact, I don't hear it. I never hear it. I'm like, that is a championship mentality right there. When you don't let the trolls bug you, you don't let any outside influence impact your decision making or what you're doing next, you're a king. And there's, again, it just reinforces that mindset he's had for so many years now.
Yeah. I don't think there's ever going to be another one like him. I mean, I know we said that about Rich when he was done. But yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see another guy like that's in that category.
Yeah. He's just such a humble dude. Did I ever tell you the first time I met Fraser?
No.
It was at, this would have been 2018. I had just started doing CrossFit Trump, had just changed the name to Make WODs Great Again. And he was going to be
still in my phone as CrossFit Trump. Just so
am I? Okay, good. You're probably the only one. But anyway, he was at the Arnold in Columbus, and I was going to be down there. And so I made this meme of a wrestler getting body slammed, and the caption was what Mat Fraser's going to do when he meets me the first time, because I remember
that.
Yeah, I'd made a lot of short jokes over the years. And he DM'd me, like straight up DM'd me on it. He didn't follow. He must have been lurking or something, or somebody sent it to him. But he DMs me and he's like, oh no, I love your stuff. So now I'm like freaking out because I got the champ sending me DMs. So I go down there the next day. I wait in line with everyone else. It was like a huge line. His time was like from 1 to 3 that he was signing autographs. And I got there right at the end. And we didn't get up there. And he, at 3 o'clock when he was done, he came out and walked the line and shook hands with every single person that was there for like another hour.
That's awesome.
And then he saw me, and I kind of gave him a sheepish little wave. He's like, yeah, I know who you are. And he called me over and he asked to take a photo. Like, took a photo with me. And again, just like super generous with his time when he had no reason to be. Like, he could have bolted at 3, but he spent another hour out there just shaking hands. I was just really impressed at how grateful he seemed for everyone.
He's one of those guys that I didn't want to, while he was competing, I didn't have a whole ton of interactions with him. He came out to HQ a couple of times to do some stuff. But I never really had a chance to sort of sit down and speak with him at length. And every opportunity now that I have had to do that, it's like the more I like him and the more I admire him. I just have the utmost amount of respect for him and everything he's been able to accomplish. So, really appreciate him taking the time to chat with two old knuckleheads.
Yeah, well, this is our first show, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little intimidated being on here with you, Sean. You're no Nikki. You're no Nikki. No, I just no, I told someone yesterday I was nervous. Like, why are you nervous? I'm like, well, Nikki and I had done like 350 shows, and there's there's a rhythm and a pattern, and you get used to when someone's going to ask a question and when they're not. And we've never, besides 1 or 2 times on air together, we've never, haven't had that kind of repetition and practice. And you're the GOAT of this sort of thing. Like, I was going to say on the air, I'm like, you're in podcasting. You're like, no, you're the GOAT. You're like the Rich Froning of podcasters. No, I was going to use that joke on Matt, but I wasn't sure he'd take it well.
You're the Rich Froning of being Mat Fraser.
Yes, exactly. No, it's just, I'm just super grateful you're doing this with me. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. We've talked about this for a while, wanted to do something. And it was one of those things where, well, let's just stop talking about it and do it.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun. We have some good stuff coming up. Great guests that John is 90% responsible for. Hopefully we can provide some great conversations and some good insight into some of the people who are out there in the fitness space, and give people a reason to check out and enjoy life for about an hour and 15 minutes. And if not, then, sorry.
Yeah, I think my hope for the show is that we have a lot of non-traditional names. Like, I love having the Frasers of the world on because they have such a unique mindset that a lot of us want to continue to learn from and apply to our own fitness journey. But I think my excitement for this is to get to, like, next week we're going to have, or whenever they release, our next guest after Matt will be Natalie Anderson, who won CBS Survivor. She's currently on The Traders, which I think is on Paramount, maybe. And she's been on The Amazing Race and just has this kind of really cool journey through all of these reality TV shows, but she's also a CrossFitter. She CrossFits at home, and is really dedicated to that. And so it's just really fun to hear how, people apply what they do in the gym, in her case, in Survivor or, other reality pursuits. So I just think it could be a lot of fun for us to talk to some people like that. And hopefully people in the community get excited about, learning some new names and new faces and hearing what they do and apply it to their own lives.
Yeah. And I think too, when big stuff happens, big news around the community and spaces happen, we'll come on and talk about that too. So
yeah, we definitely are going to do some lives. We need to, poke the bear occasionally. And, I think that was fun for both of us. These are, different shows. So we can, share different opinions and talk about different things, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. So. All right. Well, I think that was a successful maiden voyage.
Yep. I'm all in. All right. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everybody.